Types of Federal Courts by Haley and Bree.
The United States Supreme Court is the highest court in the U.S. Under the Supreme Court is the inferior courts. The inferior courts consist of the constitutional courts and the special courts. The constitutional courts has 94 district courts, 12 U.S. Court of Appeals, U.S. Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit, and the U.S. Court of International Trade. The special courts consist of the U.S. Court of Federal Claims, U.S. Tax Court, Territorial Courts, U.S. Court of Appeals for the Armed Forces, Courts of the District of Columbia, and the U.S. Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims. The Constitution creates the Supreme Court and leaves to Congress the creation of the inferior courts. The lower federal courts function beneath the Supreme Court and handle most of the cases tried in the federal courts.
The constitutional courts, also called Article III courts or regular courts, as permitted by the Constitutional Congress, created these courts which exercise the broad judicial power of the United States as stated in Article III. Special courts are also known as the legislative courts that were created by Congress. They were created to hear cases involving the expression powers of Congress.
District courts are the federal trial courts that were created by Congress in the Judiciary Act of 1789. There are 94 district courts with 665 judges that handle more than 300,000 cases a year. They hear a wide range of both criminal cases and civil cases. In the district courts, the 50 states are divided into 89 federal judicial courts. The district court jurisdiction has original jurisdiction over most cases that are heard in the federal courts, except for those that fall within the original jurisdiction of the U.S. Supreme Court. These district courts are the principal trial courts in the federal court system.
The Court of Appeals were created by Congress in 1891. They were created as gatekeepers to relieve the Supreme Court of some burdens of hearing appeals from the district courts. There are now 12 Court of Appeals in the judicial system, and the U.S. is divided into 12 judicial circuits.
The Court of International Trade was created originally in 1890 as the Board of U.S. General Appraisers. That body became the Court of Customs in 1926, and then Congress reconstructed and renamed it in 1980. This court has 9 judges and hears civil cases arising out of tariff and other trade-related laws.
The Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit was created in 1982. It established the new court to centralize and speed up the handling of appeals in certain kind of civil cases. This court hears cases from across the country in nationwide jurisdiction. This court has 12 judges and sits in panels of 3 or more judges on each case.
The Court of Federal Claims holds trials throughout the country, hearing claims for damages against the federal government. The government may be taken to court only in cases in which Congress has declared the U.S. to be open to a suit. It was originated and became the U.S. Court of Federal Claims in 1993. It's composed of 16 judges by the President and approved by the Senate for 15-year terms, and the U.S. government cannot be sued.
The territorial courts make all needful rules and regulations respecting the territory belonging to the United States. The courts are settled in the Virgin Islands, Guam, and the Northern Marianas and function much like the local courts in the 50 states. The United States districts and these courts hear the same federal cases along with serving the bankruptcy court. The District of Columbia Court is a judicial system for the national capital set up by Congress in 1970. This court hears local cases as well as those they try as constitutional courts. Congress also sets up 2 local courts, Superior Court and Court of Appeals.
The Court of Appeals for the Armed Forces has 1 for each branch of the armed forces. Courts Martial, which serves the special disciplinary needs of the armed force, is not a part of the federal court system. The Civilian Tribunal is a court operating part of the judicial branch, separate from the military establishment. The Court of Appeals for the Armed Forces began in 1789 as an exercise of its express power to make rules for the government and regulation of the land and naval forces, but officially became this court in 1950 with the name Court of Military Appeals. It has changed to the Court of Appeals for the Armed Forces to review for more serious military personnel.
The Court of Appeals for Veteran Claims has the power to hear appeals from the decisions of an administrative agency and hears cases in which the Veterans Affairs denied or otherwise mishandled valid claims for veterans' benefits. On November 19, 1988, the Veterans Judicial Review Act created the new Veterans Court and the United States Court of Veterans' Appeals. On March 1, 1999, the Veterans Program Enhancement Act of 1998 changed the court's name to the name it now bears, the U.S. Court of Appeals for Veteran Claims. It is made up of a chief judge and 6 associate judges.
The United States Tax Court is made up of 19 judges and one of those that serve as a chief judge. This court was created by Congress in 1969. It hears civil but not criminal cases involving disputes over the application of tax laws. Most are generated by the IRS and Treasury departments, and decisions can be appealed to the federal courts of appeals. Today we talked about the constitutional courts and the special courts. Learning about how our government works is very important.
We are so happy we can help inform other students on how our U.S. court system works. Thank you for watching.